the American Woolen Company agreed to most of the strikers' demands. In the days that followed, other companies also agreed to terms. The workers gained between 5 and 25% raises depending on their jobs. They also gained overtime pay. The ripples of this impact flowed throughout New England. It's estimated that 150,000 textile workers saw raises in the aftermath of the historic work action. At the gathering to commemorate the strike, leader of the industrial workers of the world, Big Bill Haywood, addressed the crowd saying, "You are the heart and soul of the working class. You, the strikers of Lawrence, have won the most signal victory of any organized body of working men in the world. You have demonstrated that there is a common interest in the working class that can bring all its members together." Despite the significance of this strike, the story is not taught in many of our schools. In 2011, the Zinn Education Project found that only 2 of the 10 major U.S. history textbooks discussed the strike. Today, let's take a minute to remember those brave women who declared, "Yes, it's bread we fight for, but we fight for roses too." For more information, go to laborhistoryin2.com, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at laborhistoryin2.
You're listening to The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk.
I like David Madeline, and I like the work the folks over at the American Worker Project do. Make sure you check out their work over at AmericanProgress.org. Look, the reality is for all my friends who are going, "Well, you just beat up on Democrats." Look, the reality is yeah, I beat up on Democrats because sometimes they need it. I understand Republicans have brought us all of the bad ideas that have created the world in which we live. They come out of these bad think tanks. Look, the wealthy pay an awful lot of money for smart people to come up with bad ideas for working people. They understand that these policies enrich the wildly wealthy. We have a government, and have had a government for a while, that panders to the Elon Musks, that panders to the Bill Gates, that panders to our billionaire class. They get their needs met first and foremost. And look, nothing has seemed to trickle down. So the anger is real. And look, I'm angry. Off camera, David and I were talking about, my work career. Look, I started back in the 80s working in the LTL trucking industry. My standard of living back then was higher because our wages compared to the economy were much higher, considerably higher. Like 17, 18 bucks an hour higher than they are now. Life was different. And that was for a lot of workers in a lot of industries, especially ones like the less than truckload, industry that was heavily unionized. Back when I started, that segment of the economy was like 85% unionized. It's down to like 10, 12, maybe. And with that lack of bargaining power, with that lack of unionization, you've seen wages just plummet. And that's not even talking about the health care, the pension, the job protections. It's incredible to me that working people haven't come to the realization that the only answer to their problems is them, us, and that we coming together collectively. And I know that's socialism, Rick. It's communism. No, it's smart. Coming together as one collective unit saying, no, our labor's worth something. We demand better. We create all of this wealth that we see the billionaire class pocketing. And yet we don't demand more of it for ourselves. Now, what we'll do is, well, that person back there behind me, they got something I didn't get. And that's where your anger is pointed. And that's by design. That's because we've got an entire media structure, an entire right-wing echo chamber going, that welfare mother, she's taking your food. She's squandering your tax dollars. Never mind what Musk and their ilk are doing. Oh, but they earn it. They earn it off of your back, off of your blood, sweat, and tears. off of wages that you didn't get, off of health care that you didn't get, off of a pension that you're never going to receive. Because every time a company goes belly up, what do? Well, we can't pay. We can't pay our obligations, but we got to pay our CEOs millions of dollars to finish the job. Anger in this country is misplaced in so many ways. And it's because we've got a media structure that goes, hey, over here. No, don't question that. Be mad at these people. Fill in the blank. The gays, the minorities, the poor. Never our billionaire class. Never the wealthy in this country who have controlled our politics for too long. And look, I am as angry as anyone. I am as angry as any teapot carrying, MAGA hat wearing moron. Because this economy has left a lot of working people behind. But I've got faith in us. I believe in you. I believe in us being able to get through this. Because we're going to have to. We're going to have to find our way through it. Can't run away from it. You got to take this fight on. You can't bury your head and go, I'm just not going to pay attention. You've got to take it on. And the organizing that comes of what's happening now will be what brings us around. I've got great faith in that. I've got great faith in the fact that as they gut Social Security, as they gut Medicaid, as they go after and destroy all of these things that we have taken for granted, as they take from us very publicly, not like the frog in the pot, we will react. That's my hope. I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think I'm right? Email me, rick@thericksmithshow.com. Am I wrong? I definitely want to hear that. Are you one of those, just pull yourself over your bootstraps? You could be Elon Musk. Miss any portion of the program, check out our podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And as always, thanks so much for being here. We'll see you back here next time.
You've been listening to The Rick Smith Show. Email Rick at rick@thericksmithshow.com. Until next time, this has been The Rick Smith Show, where working people come to talk.
AP News. Good morning, I'm Ed Donahue. Democrats appear to be open to approving a spending bill in Congress to keep the government operating. The AP's Ben Thomas reports the deadline is midnight.
Senate Democrats objected to the spending bill House Republicans had passed just a day earlier, wanting to limit President Trump and Elon Musk's efforts to gut the federal government. But Senate Majority Leader John Thune framed the issue this way.
Democrats need to decide if they're going to support funding legislation that came over from the House or if they're going to shut down the government.
That was something Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer was unwilling to do, saying he would vote to allow the bill to proceed.
There is nobody in the world, nobody, who wants to shut the government down more than Donald Trump and more than Elon Musk. We should not give it to them. And make no mistake, Democrats will continue to fight what Donald Trump is doing.
Ben Thomas, Washington.
The AP has reviewed documents that show federal agencies will begin to vacate hundreds of offices across the country this summer under a frenetic and error-riddled push by Elon Musk's budget-cutting advisors to terminate leases that they say waste money. Several agencies are facing 20 or more lease cancellations in all, including the IRS, the Social Security Administration, the Department of Agriculture, and the U.S. Geological Survey. Authorities have removed immigrants from detention facilities at the Guantanamo Bay Naval Base as a federal court in Washington weighs a challenge by civil rights advocates to holding immigrants at the offshore military station. Representatives of China, Russia, and Iran are calling for an end to U.S. sanctions on Iran over its rapidly advancing nuclear program and a restart of multinational talks. 12 people were taken to hospitals with injuries considered minor after an American Airlines plane landed at Denver International Airport and caught fire. The flight was headed from Colorado Springs to Dallas-Fort Worth. This is AP News. Philippine ex-president Rodrigo Duterte is set to appear in a Hague courtroom to face war on drugs charges.
The 79-year-old Duterte, the first Asian former leader arrested on an ICC warrant, will be read his rights in court and formally informed of the charges of crimes against humanity that the court's prosecutors have filed against him after a lengthy probe. The court will also seek to set a date for a key pre-trial hearing at which judges will assess whether there's enough evidence to proceed to a full trial, which could take years. If Duterte is convicted, he faces a maximum sentence of life imprisonment. Estimates of the death toll during Duterte's presidential term vary from more than 6,000 up to 30,000, claimed by human rights groups. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The Vatican says Pope Francis spent the morning in physiotherapy at a Rome hospital. I'm Ed Donahue, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A wind advisory will go into effect here late this afternoon. Then a high wind watch will go into effect here Saturday morning. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today, high around 80 degrees. Breezy southeast winds increase around 20 to 25 miles per hour, gusting as high as 40. Tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, low near 55. Saturday, skies become sunny, high of 66. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 50.
Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like, wake up, brush teeth, Baconate with a breakfast Baconator. Roll with the sausage breakfast burrito. Buddy it up with a honey buddy. Or get seasoned with seasoned potatoes. And then go to work. Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that will focus on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Friday morning. Yes, it is Friday morning, progressives. Welcome to the March 14th, 2025 edition of Choose Views. 773-763-9278. Catch us on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. That's where you can catch the streams, guys. Email me at richard@wcpt820.com. Substack is also where you can find me. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. There you can get Choose Views, long and short versions, as we say. And Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive, driving it home with Patty Vasquez, a big picture with Edwin Eisendrath, and out Chicago, and our other shows and interviews. The weekend is always fun around here. Great stuff happening. Check out Edwin tomorrow. And also check out our heartlandsignal.com digital platform and share all of the good stuff that's over there. I'll be talking a little bit about a couple of the Heartland Signal X, on X, I should say, videos and clips that you guys can take a peek at and share. But it is Friday, and wow, March 14th, middle of the month, so to speak. And spring is just around the corner based on the calendar. And some may say it's here now, or it has been, but the weather's been relatively well this last week. I mean, today, was it 49 degrees right now? And it's supposed to go up to the low 60s, I understand. And by the end of the day, it might make it, we'll see. Optimistically, the end of the day, it could get to the 70s. But there you go. For those of you that are here in Chicago and any place else in the upper Midwest, it's going to be a reasonably good couple of days. So we got to be excited about that. Today, we will have with us in the 6:30 hour, a gentleman named Edwin Rios. He is written for The Guardian, The New York Times, Mother Jones, and many other places. He is a music guy. He is a journalist. He is He does a few things that I guess you could say really foster his artistic skills. So I'm looking forward to having Edwin chat with us today. A little bit of a different slant to Choose Views, but Edwin will be with us. Karen Byrne, our good friend from TruBlu Politics podcast, will be with us this morning in studio at 7. And we will be talking with Congresswoman Nikki Budzinski this morning as well in the 7:30 hour to discuss some of the things that took place with some of her recent testimonies in front of Congress. So looking forward to having her with us as we go along. My man Henry is rolling around this morning, got the roller skates on nice and tight because he's running all the studios this morning, all the feeds. So he's got it going on. So when you call in this morning, just give Henry some added shout out for his adept ability to run the whole show. So kudos, Henry. That being said, guys, we'll keep it moving since we are busy and make our way over to Choose Views News on this March 14th, 2025. I hate to keep saying this when I'm putting these together. I go, good Lord, this is where we are. But stock market's downward trajectory deepened yesterday with the S&P's numbers dropping 10% from its February peak. That's insane. A move recognized as a correction on Wall Street. A correction, yeah, okay, whatever. This is because of your friend in the White House that's freaking everybody out with these doggone tariffs. It's that simple. You heard the clips from Steve Leisman yesterday with CNBC. But in any event, that's what's happening with the Dow. It is down. We all know the escalating tariff measure continued to fuel volatility in financial markets, raising concerns about a potential economic downturn. Round 2 of U.S. layoffs plans are coming soon. To be clear how the U.S. government will carry out a second wave of mass layoffs. Federal agencies' cost-cutting plans, including their proposals for how to reduce staff by significant, quote, numbers, are due to the White House, I should say, yesterday. The first of firings led by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. Just to say that, just saying that Elon Musk, an unelected, selected, give up the money to Trump person, is affecting people's lives in a negative way. Maybe he should be on one of those spaceships that doesn't make it. This is crazy that he's in that position to hurt people like this. Has already eliminated 100,000 jobs, left state agencies scrambling to address a surge in jobless. Claims that are going to be coming. We heard that yesterday. So, furthering his carnage, Comcast, these two are not related, so let me press pause. Comcast reaches a $3 billion Olympics deal. Comcast, NBC Universal, and its International Olympic Committee have announced a groundbreaking, quote, agreement that extends Comcast media rights for the Olympics through 2036. The $3 billion deal makes the media giant a strategic partner with the IOC, collaborating with broadcast infrastructure, U.S. digital ads, and in-venue distribution. It also includes rights to the 2034 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City and the 2036 Summer Games. Over 30 million people watched the 2024 Paris Games on Peacock network and streaming service. Oracle, top pick for TikTok sale. This hasn't been in the news for a while, meaning TikTok. But the software giant Oracle is emerging as a leading contender to help run TikTok in the U.S., per the information citing anonymous sources. The deal, structured on an existing partnership between Oracle and TikTok's Chinese-owned parent company, ByteDance, would allow TikTok to store U.S. user data, on Oracle-controlled servers, and Oracle the ability to audit TikTok's source code. Both companies have yet to confirm or comment, despite a looming April 5th deadline and multiple TikTok executives walking out. And finally, a judge orders federal workers to be reinstated. A judge has ordered several federal agencies to reinstate thousands of probationary employees who were dismissed last month as part of a broad downsizing of the government workforce. The ruling affects workers at the Departments of Veterans Affairs, Agriculture, Treasury, Defense, Energy, and the Interior. with Judge William Alsup calling attempts to label fired workers as low performers a sham to avoid statutory requirements. That's right. The ruling arrives alongside a new lawsuit seeking to halt jobs cuts at the Department of Education. That's good on that judge because they followed the letter of the law. Now, the reason that this is very specifically important and relevant is that's going to directly impact Adam Mulvey, who was with us yesterday, because he was working for the Department of Veterans Affairs through the hospital. So that may mean that he should get his job back, which is exciting. So we'll try to keep an eye on that, and I'll reach out to Adam to see if he's, in a positive way, caught up in that goodness rather than in that badness. But there you go, guys. A little bit of Choose Views to get you rolling this morning. I hope you're getting out and about and doing your thing. As I said before, the weather is supposed to be decent this weekend. It is right now, so hopefully that'll carry forward and be a good opportunity for you guys to get out and about and do things. We'll take a kind of a quick early break. When we come back, we will talk about those things to get out and do this weekend. This number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Question: where were you on May 3rd, 2005? If you were listening to the radio, you may have heard the first day on the air for WCPT. On Saturday, May 3rd, WCPT is celebrating 20 years on the air with a big live broadcast from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We'll be at Max and Benny's restaurant in Northbrook, and WCPT listeners can attend this special 4-hour broadcast. Al Sparks will kick off the celebration with the WCPT broadcast team. Richard Chu, Joan Esposito, Patty Vasquez, and Scott Duff, as well as surprise guests from our 20-year history. It's the WCPT 20th anniversary, and you're invited to come and celebrate with us. To register for this special event, go to WCPT.com and click on the WCPT anniversary banner. Seating is limited and will sell out quickly. Go to WCPT.com today to register. See you on Saturday, May 3rd from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Max and Benny's in Northbrook.
So spread the word that WCPT is just great.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
You're listening to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk.
Welcome back, Progressives, to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Today, 2 to 5 p.m., Joan will be taking your calls for the first half of the show and talking to Glenn Korn, a 34-year veteran of the U.S. Intelligence and Foreign Affairs Committees, Democratic Party lawyer Michael Dorff, and Fred Sau, political director at Illinois Coalition for Immigrant and Refugee Rights, live, local, and progressive, I should say. Weekdays 2 to 5 here on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk for 20 years. And then tonight from 5 to 7 p.m., Patty Vasquez will be joined by a trio of candidates from York Township and the Recompilation area's Dan Schaefer. Driving it home with Patty Vasquez, weekdays 5 to 7 p.m. Central Time, of course, WCPT AM 820, Heartland Signal website, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And then Saturday on The Big Picture, Edwin Eisendrath's guests will include environmental scientist Peter Gleek and the Nation's John Nichols. The Big Picture with Edwin Eisendrath, Saturdays from 1 to 4 p.m. Central, definitely CPT AM 820, the Heartland Signal website, and TuneIn. I think on Monday we're going to be talking with Mike Nellis again. He's joining me here on Choose Views, so I'm looking forward to that. All right. Check this out, progressives. Those of you who are in Chicago or might be making your way, there's some things to do because it's going to be the celebration of St. Patrick's Day weekend here in Chicago. So, well, throughout the country, but particularly here in Chicago, because you guys know what happens. Chicago Green River Dyeing takes place. And it's the annual Chicago River Dyeing is one of the most unique St. Patrick's Day celebrations in the world, typically held the Saturday before St. Patrick's Day, which would be tomorrow. And, of course, there's a bucket list of things to be doing, but if you're going to be in Chicago, and this is a place where lots of people come to celebrate St. Patrick's Day from all over the world. So Uber is going to be busy this weekend. The St. Patrick's Day Parade is taking place tomorrow, the 77th 70TH, also known as the 70th annual St. Patrick's Day Parade, is one of the largest in the country and the centerpiece of the city's unforgettable St. Patrick's Day celebration. So that'll be taking place tomorrow. Make your way down to the Jackson Avenue, Grant Park area. That'll be a lot of fun. St. Patrick's Day Fest at the Irish American Heritage Center. This is taking place on Saturday, 4626 North Knox Avenue. The Irish American Heritage Center's St. Patrick's Fest returns. The festivities follow the downtown parade and are packed with traditional and Irish festivities. So that'll be a lot of fun for folks. And this is one that is definitely, this is a label that folks have that is world renowned, and that is being Southside Irish, also known as the Southside Irish Parade. The wee folks of Washtenaw and Tallman, founders of this great parade, along with the Southside Irish Parade Committee. That's going to be taking place 103rd and Western in that general area on Sunday. So make your way over there. Shamrock and Roll on Division Street at Patty's Division Street Patty's Day Street Festival, and that's going to be taking place over the weekend. Lodge Tavern will be kind of the main host, 21 West Division. Make your way there and celebrate St. Patrick's Day with some of the city cruises on the river. That'll be happening starting tomorrow. City cruises at 455 North Cityfront Plaza. And then, of course, also the Island Boat Party, which will be taking place on the river as well, 355 East River Walk South. All you got to do is come to Chicago and head to the river. And if you don't know what to do, you'll find some things to do just by virtue of being in the environment. You'll be adjacent to a lot, and you'll be right on top of a lot of things that'll be happening. So enjoy yourselves. Be safe. Don't be falling out of taxis and Ubers because you had a little bit too much, I won't say Irish liquor, but liquor, period. That some may happen to have an Irish name on it. But that's one of the many things that's wonderful about the city of Chicago is we celebrate well. Through all this craziness that's going on right now, we do celebrate well. And I know that this is probably, not Valentine's Day is Valentine's Day. We're still in the throes of winter. When St. Patrick's Day hits, it's that sort of, all right, we're almost there, y'all. We got 4 more days before the number is actually the right day for spring. And we all get excited, whether we're, stone cold 100% Irish or we are stone cold 100% Egyptian and everybody in between. It's a celebration that recognizes our common heritage, our connection, irrespective of having heritage that's the same. So our common heritage is that we are a dotted line from each other if we just allow ourselves to be. And I'll get a little philosophical about that when we talk about St. Patrick's Day and the celebration of that. It's not a real holiday. It's not let me rephrase that. It's a real holiday, but it's not a holiday that signifies any specific religion or anything of that nature. It actually, when you think about St. Patrick's Day, although it's focusing on the Irish heritage in America, it really is about folks connecting who they're able to find what we have in common, in my observation. Because all you got to do is look at the folks that show up at any of the St. Patrick's Day gatherings. And it's a multitude of people. Yeah, most folks walking around with something green on. But what I've always found really interesting about it here in Chicago is that it does bring the city together in an odd sort of way that everybody's Irish for a couple of days. And that says to me that everybody's connected if we just allow ourselves to be that way. How do I pivot, Henry? I guess I just put my foot down and turn. All right, guys. So what am I pivoting to? The obvious elephant in the room, and that's this conversation around our budget, our federal budget. And I think that one of the things that crossed my mind and said, okay, how do I want to talk about this? How do I want to deal with this as it relates to what the folks in the Senate are doing? And I'll keep this as simple as I can. we've heard and seen, if you paid attention in the last 24 hours, certainly the last 18 hours, that, there's a lot of senators that, voted no, and many that are upset with the direction that Chuck Schumer is apparently going. And the question is, keeping the government open or shutting the government down? And I know that a lot of the conversations that I've heard and a lot of things that I've read in the last 18 to 24 hours has been around, do we allow the Republicans to have to fail with this one, but why the government shutdown is something that the Republicans should own? And the way for that to happen is for the Democrats to not vote for the CR. And I guess there's a couple of different ways of looking at this, and I don't know which one is necessarily right. I think that there's an argument for both sides. And again, let me say there's an argument for both sides, because it means that at least we're thinking about how to navigate through this. One would say that that the Republicans should own this shutdown, because it would put the onus on them to fix it, and they would have to then come up with a different CR. There's a logical conversation there. The other side is, by letting the government shut down, it gives power to Trump. What it may do is give, when I say power, gives him more power. It may give him an additional bully pulpit moment, in that he would be able to, blame it on the Democrats. Blame it on the Democrats by saying the Democrats are the ones that shut the government down. Okay, so I've laid that out. And here's my take on this. And Senator Cory Booker, he calls out appropriately some of the Democrats who are going to capitulate. Here's my take on it. And I don't know if this is right, but this is a take that I have on it. And I kind of go back and ask myself the question, where is the singular message? I've been saying this for a couple of weeks now. Singular message. What's showing right now, Henry, is that the Democratic leadership isn't leading. And there is no, and let me put it this way as well. This is the other thought that I had kind of in the middle of the morning when I said, how am I going to approach this? And I'm not trying to be right necessarily, but observational. This is what I mean when I say the Dems have got to stop airing their doggone laundry in public, y'all. It shouldn't have even been a situation where, whether they were going to vote up or down for it, that it was out in public. That's the problem. I have a bigger problem, and you guys may think I'm crazy. I have a bigger problem with that. I could get behind. See, this is the thing. And this is, guys, trust me on this. This is where folks get PO'd and they get turned off. It's not that the Dems would vote for the CR or the senators would vote for it or not. That's not really in my observation. And help me out with this, guys. And thank you, Diane and Paula, for your text. It's not that they would vote for it or against it, because there's some conversation around shutting down the government could create further havoc for so many people. I get that part. And we all have to stop sometimes and go, okay, I understand how that would impact certain people more than others. And then the other side of it is shut it down, put it in the Republicans' lap and let them deal with it. Okay, I get that the two sides of the argument are pretty basic in their headline. But fix that stuff before y'all come out in public. That's what frustrates me. And I know that frustrates a lot of folks. Don't be airing your laundry in public. If you're going to be all for the bill or all against the bill, fix that in private. And then come to the American people and say, listen, we all agree that shutting down the government is a bad idea. Boom. Or we all agree that this bill stinks and we're not voting for it. We're going to shut it down. It's in the lap of the Republicans, and get behind that message. That's the part that frustrated me the most about this. I was like, damn, how come they can't just get this done in private, Henry? And that's the lack of leadership And I'm going to call it out on the Dems. I mean, a lot of times I hear, let me say this differently. I've heard from so many folks that have said, Richard, are you just a shill for the Democrats because you seem to always agree with them? No, I don't. Look at the tape. And this is one of those moments. What I don't agree with is airing the laundry in public. And the lack of leadership about that right there is so critically important, and it's turning people off. I'm not going to sit here this morning and try to tap dance around that in support of the Dems, because I don't support their airing their laundry in public. They have to stop doing that. So we have to let them know that that's unacceptable. I'll get behind. Take this the right way, guys. I mean, I'm going to jump off the train. The train's about to go over a cliff. I'm not going over the cliff. But until that moment, I'm going to ride on the train. And then when I see, okay, it's about to crash, I'm jumping off. If you understand what I mean. I'm not just following to follow until it gets to a point where I can't do anything. But in that moment, I'm going to make it clear that my support is my support. Come on, Dems, stop doing this. Stop airing the laundry in public. You all need to have a common message, a common objective. And if it's the wrong objective, and I don't say wrong objective, but if it's viewed as wrong, at least y'all are in the same boat. Right now, people are rowing in different directions, and the boat just keeps spinning around and around and around. And I'm certain that that's one of the things that has frustrated so many people. I also will say in this last moment before we go to the break, this is why I've been calling for a different Senate leader on the Democratic side. Because Chuck Schumer, what I don't blame him for is his vote per se. I blame him for not having this resolved privately. That's where I've got an issue with Chuck Schumer. Too much is aired in public. And if he felt and feels that I needed to vote this way to keep the government open, then doggone it, get your caucus in order. Basketball teams and football, professional sports teams have plays that they run, Henry, because that continuity, the reason that the Bulls, quiet as it's kept, did so well, in addition to Michael Jordan being one of the best players of all time and all the other cast of characters, is because Phil Jackson made it clear we're running the triangle offense. When they fixed Jordan going off on his own prior to Phil Jackson coming in, the Bulls were unstoppable. Fair statement? It's the truth. The triangle offense was their methodology. Dems, you have to have a methodology. And if I'm going to call you out on something, it's that, right? You cannot be airing your laundry in public. And folks are tired of that. And this is where Schumer's leadership isn't showing itself. I'm not saying he's wrong about his vote. Some may say that he is. But the fact that he didn't pull this together beforehand is where we have the biggest problem. Help me with that, guys, because we've got to encourage our leaders to do a better job in this space, like our Governor Pritzker is doing. You don't see him and Lieutenant Governor Stratton airing their laundry in public about what they may not fully agree on. All right. We're going to take a quick break, guys. We've got a guest already getting with us this morning, calls and all that stuff, but I wanted to get that out so you guys could hear it from me first. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Every 40 seconds, a child is reported missing. That's 2,000 children every single day. It's a heart-wrenching reality that we can no longer ignore. Find the Children is a non-profit organization dedicated to helping find missing kids. You can be a part of their mission by donating your unwanted vehicle, running or not. Call 1-800-775-5622. We guarantee that you will receive the maximum tax deduction. We provide fast, free pickup with 24-hour response. Call 1-800-775-5622. Find the Children provides crucial resources to help find missing children and educational materials to teach kids how to recognize and avoid predators. Our recovery programs have a proven track record of reuniting kids with their families. It's time to act. Donate your unwanted or unused car. Help us build a world where every child is safe. Pick up the phone and call 1-800-775-5622. Together, we can bring these kids home safely. This advertisement was paid for by Cars R Us and Find the Children.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A wind advisory will go into effect here late this afternoon. Then a high wind watch will go into effect here Saturday morning. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today, high around 80 degrees. Breezy southeast winds increase around 20 to 25 miles per hour, gusting as high as 40. Tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, low near 55. Saturday, skies become sunny, high of 66. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 52.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
It's Chew's View with Richard Chew on WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back, progressives. Glad that you guys are with us this morning. And some of the text messages, which we'll get to at the top, closer to the top of the hour. Appreciate you guys, and I will kind of work through those as we get through. This morning we have a Chicago native that is one of those people that I always like to say when someone has that sort of musical and writing talent, they bring a certain additional flair to the conversation. And I thought it would be kind of cool to have someone with us this morning that has been doing some neat things and doing some great writing and been a part of the message that I think a lot of people want to hear when it comes to our artistic community. And with us, we have Edwin Rios. Good morning, native Chicagoan. How are you today?
I'm good. Good morning, Richard. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know that our show oftentimes, not oftentimes, but the majority of the time is going down that political, social, and economic path. And we always like to add a little added flavor to our show when we have someone who's been such a successful artist and producer in the music industry, in the dance industry, and all the rest. But Edwin, good to have you with us, and take a little bit of time, take a moment, and share with our listeners a little bit about your background and a little bit about the work that you're doing, and also just share with folks some of your observations, if you will, right now about, I think this is going to be near and dear to you, what's happening with our Department of Education.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm a Chicago native, CPS graduate, so shout out Chicago Public Schools. Born and raised here in Chicago, Puerto Rican, in the Humboldt Park, Logan Square neighborhood. And I picked up DJing as a hobby very early, at 10 years old, actually, 1983, and just kind of, it was a wonder to me. So as I got a little older, I just stayed with it. Education was very stressed. It was very, very, very much a big thing in our house. So my parents were always like, "Hey, listen, you can do this DJ thing all you want, but you better, you got to go to school, buddy." And thank God, most of my friends were getting like turntables and DJ equipment for Christmas, and I really wanted that. But my mom got me an Apple IIc computer, and they said, "Listen, you're going to use this to figure out how you're going to get your own DJ equipment one day." Thank God they did. As I was DJing, I was a school guy, and I went to school, and I also did my undergrad at North Park University here in Chicago. Shout out Vikings. And while I was going to school, my DJ career actually took off. I started doing records. I worked on the radio here in Chicago, and I still have a very successful career. At the same time, at about 40 years old, I decided to go back to school and get my master's at North Park. And I put practice into motion instead of just talking about it. I was like, listen, I'm a successful DJ. I do my...
Whoa. Edwin, if you're still there, I don't know if you're still there or not. Looks like we had something go haywire, Henry. Not sure if we're still on. If you are listening and you can hear me, send me a text. because it looks as though we had a little bit of an outage. Or did Edwin just go away?
That's back. Thank you.
Okay, are you back? Okay, we got you back?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
So to make a long story short, I'll cut to it. Went back to school. I started to listen. I need to help out with help these kids out. I need they need some motivation. So I went back. I became a dean of a high school, Roberta Clemente High School. Believe it or not. So during the day, I'm Dean Rios, and during the night, Bear Who, the DJ, and touring and making records and whatnot.
Wow.
So they didn't even. A lot of the kids knew. Most of their parents knew who I was from back in the day, going to my parties and listening to my music.
Well, here's what's interesting question, and everything that you talked about really comes back to why education was such a staple part of your growing and your career. Talk about what and how. How you're feeling about education, why it's important, and why you have been such an advocate for reading, particularly.
Absolutely. Well, I just put myself in that position. When I was younger, it was very hard. There was not a lot of outlets. There wasn't a lot of places to go, and I just saw myself. I just saw the cycle kind of repeating itself. So I was like, I'm going to use my platform to make a difference. So what I did just recently is I actually started thinking about how would I give back? What else can I do with my platform? And I came up with the craziest idea. I was like, I'm going to use technology, and reach out, and I'm going to make a children's book. I'm going to write a children's book about DJ. and because DJ is such a popular phenomenon, I mean, some of the biggest celebrities in the world are DJs. And it's such a cool thing. As a kid, I used to see turntables and the whole DJ. I want to do that. And I want to kind of share that experience with the new generation and kind of pass the torch. And like I said, education, especially CPS, it is so tough out there. I mean, I was a dean of a high school, like I said, Roberta Clemente, for 4 years. And the things I saw, the things I went through with these poor kids, and I ended my career with COVID, like graduating kids virtually, and seeing the struggles that we're going through. So giving back and doing it in a way where it's so a different kind of platform, like a children's book for the younger kids. Because the younger kids, they need that outlet. They need that. They're creative like I was, and they need an outlet. So to say, hey, listen, you can be creative. Here's a story. You can read it. The pictures are so vibrant. And they love it. The kids are digging it. They love the pictures. They love the story. And it's something to see, especially when I get images from parents. They're reading the story, and the kids are just really into it. It's something else. It really is.
Well, one of the things that also comes to mind when you talk about how important it is for the kids and reading and all these pieces that are part of education, I've had conversations with folks about, college. Going to college isn't necessarily for everyone, but it's furthering their education and furthering their skill set that I believe is actually more important, or certainly as important, and then allowing for pathways to go down the direction that someone wants to go down. And that, I think, is kind of what you've been articulating is, let's get our children involved in something that they're passionate about early, that they're interested in early. And as we do that, other skills and talents will come out by virtue of them, us encouraging them to do the things that they want rather than the things that we want to tell them to do. And it seems as though you've kind of taken a little bit of that path, or not that path, but you've taken a little bit of that thought process and how you've interacted with the children that you've impacted when it comes to DJing.
Yeah, absolutely. I use myself as an example. Like when I was around the kids, they're looking at me like, wow, you can do it. I said, if I can do it, you can do it. I've already been there. I've done it. And being pretty successful, too, gave me a little bit of street cred for them. They're like, oh, you're not talking the talk. I look a lot like them. I dress like them. And, that supports their thought process. Like, hey, I can do this, And a lot of times people tell kids, yeah, you can do anything you want. You could do this and go to school. But they don't have actual direction. Mm-hmm. We were able to give them that direction. And to be honest with you, I know you said, the political views and whatnot, too. I'll get into that for a second. But it's hard out there. It's making it less and less likely that kids have a path out. It's not only that. It's to send somebody to school to get that higher education, and they can't do it. They're not ready. I remember at North Park, I'm a graduate, like I said, CPS. I remember going to North Park, and the first couple of days, I was blown away. I was like, I'm not going to be able to handle this. I'm dealing with kids that are way more, not I would say advanced, but have been in a different kind of education form, and I wasn't ready for it. I struggled through college. I really did. I wasn't prepared as much as all these other kids were coming from private schools and a little bit more,
a lot
financially off.
I think a lot of that, though, has a lot to do with the resources that the school has to then do the things that are going to promote a stronger education base for all of our children in any school system, whether it be public, private, or charter.
Absolutely.
It always comes back to the schools that have the more resources, not the most, but the more resources, advanced resources, and advanced abilities to expose the children to other tools for learning, tend to do well, not necessarily or exclusively better, because I know a number of, you and I both know, there's a number of public school graduates that are run circles around private school graduate children.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's just not, that's not pitting one against the other. It's just saying that, I think the teaching environment, the learning environment fosters a better outcome. It seems as though whenever I talk to someone that works in public schools, and we've had CPS President Stacey Davis Gates on with us, when the environment is strong, it doesn't matter where, if it's a public or private or charter school, the environment needs to be strong.
Absolutely. We pride ourselves, well, at the time when I was doing that at our schools to make that happen and be a strong support, have a strong support system. Electives, like not having the ability to do like automotive and things like that nature. This DJ part of it, bringing that to the forefront, gives those kids also an opportunity. It makes it cool. It makes it acceptable. You have a conversation about it. And let's be honest, some of the DJs that I know and know very well it's a lucrative career. Not everybody's out there with superstar DJs, but it could be a good business. For me as a young kid, it was a business. I was doing weddings and baptisms and bar mitzvahs and you name it. So I just kind of want to pass that down to the youth and do it in a way where I think it's fun.
Tell us a little bit of your observation right now, and I'm not going to drag you down the political road, but okay, please do. What are your? I'll ask you I think a fair question. What are some of your observations right now, since we're talking about education, that you see are destructive from a federal standpoint with what you're doing, and what are the things that you're experiencing? What are you seeing there? What are your thoughts there?
Well, first of all, I can talk personally because a lot of my friends at the time when I was coming up aren't around even anymore. They didn't have that support system at home. They didn't have a parent that said, hey, listen, you're really going to go to school. So to get to your question, I would have to say Department of Education is not perfect. We have holes, obviously, and it should be an all-hands-on-deck kind of situation where we need everybody from any kind of support system should be in these schools. I'm not going to complain about the current administration. It is what it is. But, this isn't a wrestling match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we need somebody in there that really knows that we've had, a couple years of confusion regarding trying to get this back together. And, I just think that the Department of Education should be more focused on involving as many people, all hands on deck is what I call it, situation where we're giving these kids alternatives besides what's going on now. It's kind of, and to be honest with you, I see a lot of kids falling off because they don't trust the system anymore.
Yeah. And that's
their parents failed their grandparents and failed their parents, and now they're like, school isn't important. It really isn't. I can go on TikTok. I can use, I can be an influencer. I can do other things, and it's not really being trusted. So I think it needs to be an all hands on deck kind of movement where we get these kids back and get back to a loving kind of situation where education is forefront and politics is not in schools anymore. And it's tough because you're seeing it everywhere. You're surrounded by it.
Yeah,
COVID was a great example.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Edwin.
No, I was just saying, COVID was a huge example where we lost thousands and thousands of kids that never logged on once during COVID. And these were kids that were A students, B students. were scheduled, were supposed to graduate and go to school, and they never came back. I don't know we don't even know what happened to a lot of them. Honestly, they just disappeared.
Yeah.
So it was just such an infrastructure debacle to see it firsthand, and to be at home trying to get these kids to log on was horrible. But kids persevered. Many kids did persevere, and it was kind of like there wasn't a support there. And to be honest with you, the new administration messing around with the federal aid and leaving kind of like the states to fend for themselves is such a shame. Really is. That's why, once again, the book is such an important tool, because it brings the positivity back.
Yeah.
Read. Storytelling, creative outlets, and tech. I mean, these kids are tech savvy. What better? They know tech better than we do.
Yeah.
So to have their hands on the new kind of equipment. I come from the land where we used to use records, vinyl. Vinyl is a very popular thing again. It's a resurgence. But if you go to any type of, DJ kind of atmosphere, they're using new technology to DJ. They don't use records anymore, from CDs to now I DJ anywhere around the world with USBs.
Right.
So that's another thing, is using the new tech, using the new technology, and getting these kids interested in it. Whether schools support them or not. There's quite a few schools now that are DJ schools. They have DJ clubs, actual DJ schools that you can get a degree from.
Mm-hmm. And that's,
I think the education system has to embrace that.
And a lot of that's driven by technology driving the need to incorporate the old with the new developments, so that you can have that throwback, but you can also look at the forward movement of art, and particularly when it comes to music. I can DJ anywhere. You've got some events coming up, that some that just took place, and some that are taking place over the next couple of days. You've got something happening today, right? That's going to be on. Help us out. Where's that going to be?
Well, okay. So yesterday I had a book signing. Today I have a pop event. I have a couple of podcasts and then on a Sunday, I have a book signing at Wax Vinyl Bar here in Chicago. It's 1549 West Chicago. I'm going to be doing a book signing. I'm going to be doing a question and answer. I'm going to be doing a history of house music, and talking a little bit about the book, and talking about the history of just DJing, period. And I'm looking forward to it. So that's from 7 till, on Sunday, that's from 5 to 7.
Fantastic.
On Sunday.
Edwin, it's good to have you with us this morning. A new voice, a voice that's got a slice of life of music and writing and all that, all the above. And I really appreciate you kind of taking a moment and giving folks a little bit of added view of how you've approached education, how you've approached music, and the love and passion that you have in that space. So thank you, Edwin Rios, for being with us this morning, and we appreciate you taking some time to chat. How can folks find you if they want to plug into your music, plug into your book, and all the rest that you're doing?
Absolutely. Well, the best way is at Instagram. It's at Bearwho, Bearwho, all together, one word. And it's a series of the books called the DJ Book Series. There's three books, 3 editions. The first one's already out. It's called Dreams of Being a DJ. The second one drops March 21st. That's I Can DJ Anywhere. And the third comes out. It's called I Am DJ Me in October.
Fantastic. Edwin, thank you for being with us this morning, and we appreciate you taking some time to chat.
Thank you, Richard. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Will do. All right, man. Be well. All right, Edwin Rios. Guys, check him out. Something that I think is always good, and when we talk so much about politics, and Edwin even had his slant on what's happening or how he views what's going on with the Department of Education, but he's really doing the work to talk to our young folks. And I think it's important that we, as much as we can, that we champion that effort as well. And we talk about what our young people are doing. The kids aren't doing this, kids aren't doing that. Well, sometimes we need to be the ones, those of us that are chronologically older, that can reach out and talk about people like Edwin who are making an effort. They're there. They're providing the resources and the tools and if nothing else, a safe space, which oftentimes is forgotten. And in terms of the importance of a safe space, because he said it when we talked about COVID, a lot of that was safe space stuff. I don't feel safe, doing this. I don't feel comfortable doing this. So thanks to Edwin for his work in that regard. Henry, let's take a little bit of a break, and we'll come back. We'll grab a couple calls, and we'll end the hour. And then we know we've got our guest in the 7:30 hour, 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Welcome back to Choose Views. March 3rd event. Tickets are now on sale for our May 3rd event. Apologize for that, guys. For our May 3rd anniversary broadcast at Max and Benny's Restaurant. Deli and Bakery up in Northbrook. Hal Sparks, Joan Esposito, Scott Duff, Patty Vasquez, and I will all be there broadcasting live from 11 until 3 p.m. with special guests. Learn more and get your tickets by visiting heartlandsignal.com/anniversary. Hurry up. Go get them because they're going to go. And by all means, make your way over to Heartland Signal. If you haven't already, follow Heartland Signal on X, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Threads at Heartland Signal, one word. Be sure to check the heartlandsignal.com for daily updates. And when you go to the show page, the Choose Views show page, to get the rundown on guests that we have had and other guests that are coming up, you can click on my picture. Who knows what'll happen? No, you'll probably get some good information when you do that. So just reminding you guys to make your way over to heartlandsignal.com. Now, I've seen the text, Henry, and folks are hot under the collar about what the Dems did not do or are doing. I am not in disagreement with anybody's text. Like I said, my biggest concern, my biggest frustration is have that unified message, have that unified effort. People are dying for that, right? They're begging for it, I should say. And there's some folks that are highly frustrated at the fact that they didn't vote against the CR, meaning the Senate, the Democratic senators. And this is what frustrated me. They should have been already on the microphone. Here's the thing. Why is it that John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, gets to come out and tag the Democrats with it? The Democrats don't vote for this. The shutdown is on them. Where in the hell was Schumer in advance coming out and saying this bill readily? I mean, I know he was talking. I get it. But why wasn't he saying we are not going to vote for this, and this is the reason why, and this is on the Republicans? So it's time for Schumer to go. I mean, I've been saying before the election that it was time for Cory Booker to become the the Democratic Senate leader, in this case, the minority leader. And maybe some may say it's not him. It should be someone else. But it should be someone else, meaning other than Schumer, because I haven't felt confidence in Chuck Schumer for a long time. He should have played hardball a lot sooner. That's me. I don't know how you guys think and feel about that. I'd love to hear from you on that. But that's my bigger frustration. The vote is the vote. And I know that some people, I don't want you to think I'm taking that lightly, but I'm more frustrated with the fact that the vote wasn't a unified vote, one way or the other. And that's that's one of the things. And I've gotten a couple texts from you guys about that they should have not voted for it at all, and that they're traitors for voting for it. And I hear you. But believe me, I do. But doggone it, please stop. I don't know. Just stop having a non-congruent message. And I'm trying to look at your text messages while I'm talking, so I apologize if there's a little bit of a pause. I'm trying to, because what you guys are saying is important, and I don't want it to go without comment. So, please, 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 please stop doing that, Dems. Stop making the mistake of walking out of the House not having your messaging in alignment. That's so critically important. And the more that we can not do that, I think the better the Democratic voters are going to follow and be behind Democratic leaders. Let's grab Donna's call real quickly before we go to break. Hey, Donna, good morning. Welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning, Richard. I think one of the main problems that the Democratic Party has is the demographic. These people are too old to still be in politics. They keep holding these seats. They don't welcome youth and the younger ones that they have in the party. They keep blocking them out. And insanity is to do the same thing over and over and expect different results. They keep using the same tactics they used 30 years ago. Got to be current.
Yeah.
You can't reach other demographics if you keep using the same old tired tactics, and then they don't know how to use social media. They don't understand it, really, and they keep using tired old tactics. It's a problem, and as long as we have these old people holding these seats, Dick Durbin, Nancy Pelosi, Schumer, these people in their 80s like this, they shouldn't even be in politics. That's why it's hard to get the young people to even think about coming in, because they'll say, well, we're just going to be in a holding pattern here because these old folks will not let these seats go. And I'm 69. I'm not against elderly people, but if you want to get excitement, you want to attract people that are energized. These people are tired. They've been in politics all these years.
Here's a good example. Here's a good example of that in terms of team building. And we're coming up on this break, Donna. And whether y'all agree with me or not about this, the Los Angeles Lakers have made a trade recently, and they picked up one of the young superstars from the Dallas Mavericks. He's re-energized that basketball team that's got some aging players, and of course LeBron James being that one. But they brought in some young blood, and they have been on a tear for the last few weeks. And it's that concept. Yeah. I know sports is not politics and politics is not sports. I get that. But what Donna is saying is and I don't care what the Republican Party is doing. If they've got older folks or younger folks or whatever in their party, I don't really care what they're doing. We don't need to model them. We need to model ourselves for the future. And the future, it's not the current model that we are living in. And you're right about this. I would agree with you that it's a demographic issue from an age standpoint, not necessarily cultural or gender, just that let's revitalize the party by revitalizing it with younger voices that are going to attract younger other voices to the voting booth and to the campaigning part and to the activities part, and the list goes on and on. So, Donna, as always.
Before I hang up, I just wanted to say we have an example right now of a party that's going backwards. You see the chaos that it's causing. We need to have a forward-thinking view, forward-moving view, to show people the contrast so they can say, you know what?
They are not the same.
Kamala tried to show us about turning the page. We see now why turning the page is so important. That's what I want people to see. We got to look forward. Stop looking backwards, because you can't relive a moment. It's over with. You got to create a new moment.
That's right, Don. That's such a great point. That's such a great point about what she said about turning the page. Thank you, dear, for being with us and your contribution.
Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, Donna. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Quick break, 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views, and we'll be right back.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this?
low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. 800-708-3091. That's 800-708-3091.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find an amazing candidate fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
AP News. Good morning, I'm Ed Donahue. Hamas says it has accepted a proposal from mediators to release one living American-Israeli hostage, Eden Alexander, and the bodies of 4 dual national hostages who died in captivity. No time frame was given. A vote is expected later today in the Senate on a spending bill to avert a government shutdown at midnight.
It's time for Democrats to fish or cut bait.
Majority Leader John Thune says it's up to Democrats to prevent a shutdown.
So far, it's looking like they plan to shut it down.
But Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says,
I will vote to keep the government open and not shut it down.
Schumer says a government shutdown would be a gift to President Trump.
Donald Trump is hoping for a shutdown because it will distract from his true agenda, delivering massive cuts to the rich, paid for on the backs of American families.
At least 8 Democrats will need to join with the Republicans to move the funding package forward. A GOP town hall in North Carolina got rowdy.
I sense maybe a faction in this room of folks that might not have voted for President Trump.
Republican Congressman Chuck Edwards was the target of jeers, expletives, and searing questions on the Trump administration's policies.
Like him or not, Elon Musk has brought a lot of really smart people to Davos. I happen to believe very much that President Trump supports our Constitution.
The exchanges got heated.
Yeah.
The man yelling there, Jay Carey, got kicked out. He spoke to the AP before the meeting.
Stand up, protect the people that you're elected to stand up and protect. Our elected officials in this red district aren't doing it. They need to go.
Edwards' take on the night?
We're doing exactly.
Plane landed at Denver International Airport and caught fire. The flight was headed from Colorado Springs to Dallas-Fort Worth. This is AP News. Philippine ex-president Rodrigo Duterte is set to appear in a Hague courtroom to face war on drugs charges.
The 79-year-old Duterte, the first Asian former leader arrested on an ICC warrant, will be read his rights in court and formally informed of the charges of crimes against humanity that the court's prosecutors have filed against him after a lengthy probe. The court will also seek to set a date for a key pre-trial hearing at which judges will assess whether there's enough evidence to proceed to a full trial, which could take years. If Duterte is convicted, he faces a maximum sentence of life imprisonment. Estimates of the death toll during Duterte's presidential term vary from more than 6,000 up to 30,000, claimed by human rights groups. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The Vatican says Pope Francis spent the morning in physiotherapy at a Rome hospital. I'm Ed Donahue, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A wind advisory will go into effect here late this afternoon. Then a high wind watch will go into effect here Saturday morning. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today, a high around 80 degrees. Breezy southeast winds increased around 20 to 25 miles per hour, gusting as high as 40. Tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, low near 55. Saturday, skies become sunny, high of 66. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 52.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820 AM, where facts matter. Take it away, Richard.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. You guys are lighting it up with the text messages. And the common thread that I'm seeing is not so much hate on the Democrats, and that's not hate. It's Schumer's got to go. And that's that seems to be the consensus. We'll talk about that in a bit. But welcome to the show. Good morning, Karen. Karen Byrne's in the studio with us this morning.
Well, good morning to you. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
I can't hear me. Okay. Okay.
You can't
good
hear
morning.
yourself?
I can't. Now I can hear myself.
See the volume
okay.
button?
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, over here.
Don't make Henry kill himself.
Okay, sorry.
Is that better?
There I am. Okay. Woo.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
I know. Crazy.
Should have checked my volume first, I guess.
Well, that's okay. You got it right now. Yeah, I know. It's been interesting the last 24 hours watching the quote-unquote sausage get made. And I'm very strongly committed to this statement that, like I said earlier in the show, if the Democratic leaders or Democratic elected folks on the House and the Senate are going to have a position on something, it's got to stop being this is probably the time when I will say, and I've said it before, the Big Ten is great.
Mm-hmm.
And multiple voices and thoughts and ideas are great because it says that we're listening to the different constituencies.
Yep.
And when they come out, the message has got to be consistent, and it's got to be a collective, singular message,
right,
that gets presented to the public.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not happening right now. I'm down with our leaders, but right now we can't blame the Republicans for that. Their craziness is their craziness. Republicans' craziness is their craziness, and I don't want anything to do with it.
So let it be their craziness.
Let it be their craziness, but we can't embrace their craziness by not showing that their craziness is problematic.
Yeah.
And having them. So right now, that is the biggest issue in the Democratic Party leadership-wise, is that they're not coming with a singular, congruent message.
Right.
And that's got to end. So again, to what I'm seeing from so many different people is that if Chuck Schumer is the leader of the Senate right now, the minority part of the Senate, and he's not making that happen, irrespective of how he votes, he has to go.
Because this is what people are paying attention right now, and people understand they don't need one of our votes. They don't need us.
Right. Y'all understand that. The numbers, what Karen is saying is the Republicans didn't need, we needed 60 votes for this. So we could have stood back and let them falter, and we didn't.
Right.
So now we're part of the blame.
You're part of the blame. And so some of the things that poison pills in this is basically ceding policymaking primacy to the executive branch, and then some key budgetary items. Okay, we already have Doge and Elon Musk in our treasury, raiding the coffers and freezing out funding for different programs, various programs. Firing federal workers. I mean, thank goodness that judgment came down last night.
Yeah.
But, this has to be laid squarely at the feet of the Republican Party.
And the way to do that is by not giving them what they wanted.
Right.
So that it can be further exposed that this is problematic for all of the country, not just the Republicans.
It's short-term pain for long-term gain.
Right.
Okay, because that is part of it.
Well, and if this is strategically, Trump and Musk have both said there's going to be a little bit of pain. We're going to have to go through some stuff. Okay, well then shutting down the government happens to be one of those things right now.
Right, but if everything
it's at your lap.
Right, but if everything that they want to do, all the poison pills that they put into it, that is going to have long-term pain.
Yep.
That's going to have long-term pain. And there was, a great segment. Chris Hayes had Chuck Schumer, with So frustrating listening to him and all of his rationales for it. And then you have Bernie Sanders following it up. And I'm just going to say, Bernie Sanders is reading the room, he's meeting the moment, and he understands the assignment.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of Democrats that do. So, I mean, props to all of the Democrats that understand. What we all need to do is get on the phone, and we need to call 202-224-3121. Call your senators and tell them vote no. And Chuck Schumer, if you want to reach him in D.C., 202-224-6542. We have to be lighting their phones up.
It would be interesting to see what those meetings are like and how many of the senators that are standing up and pushing back, what they're actually saying to the leadership, specifically Schumer. I'm curious. I really wanted. I'd love to know what those meetings are like.
It's a tough spot.
I cannot believe that some of the senators, some of the Democratic senators, are sitting quiet in those meetings, and that further shows why I think at this point in this moment that Schumer needs to no longer be the leader of the Democratic part of this conversation. I have my pick, or who I think would be better. And I've said this before, that I think Cory Booker is he fits, going back to what Donna said earlier about a demographic, that the one of age. He is a younger generation. He's been around for a while. So some may say that that's not the best thing in the world, but he understands what I think the general public is asking for. And that's a new approach.
Right.
And the old approach, I mean, it's problematic in the Democratic Party in general. I mean, why in the hell was Dianne Feinstein?
Right.
To the point where she was not effective.
Right.
I mean, but the follow-up to that and who is in place is a voice that's effective. It is a younger voice. And younger voice, the reason that younger voices are important, guys, in this conversation is that they've experienced things a little bit differently, so that their approach is by force going to be different, because they've seen things we talk about the different generations and how they view technology. That's just one right there.
Right.
So I feel that at this point and in this moment, this is the mistake that the Democratic Party is making, and that if they don't make the change soon enough, that they're going to be, unfortunately, and I'm just being realistic about this, and there's a lot of data points that we can cover, but I'm just being realistic about the optics. There are going to be a number of people who continue to lose interest, and that's harmful.
I mean, I know she's new, but Angela Alsabrook is amazing.
She is.
She is.
Sometimes new. See, here's the thing. This is where we get caught up. The newness isn't a thing I have an issue with. It's what they're doing. If it's new to the system, that's fine. She's not new to living. She's not new to being effective in the worlds that she's been in prior to being a U.S. I mean, just because, listen, let me take a little bit of the luster off of being a U.S. senator. First of all, doesn't mean you have to be. Barack Obama was a U.S. senator for a blink of an eye and became president.
Right.
It's because of the message and what he was saying and doing.
Right.
Right.
The excitement around.
The excitement around him. All those other things that came with Barack Obama. And yes, we've used the phrases to depict him as a once-in-a-generation leader. We get that. Bill Clinton was a similar way, in his own way, once-in-a-generation leader. But the point is, going back to what Karen said about Senator Alsobrooks, is it's not so much about their newness. It's about the energy, the excitement, the thought process that they bring to the Senate, rather than they've been there forever, constantly watching the sausage being made,
right,
and going, and then acquiescing to the old.
Right.
So
yeah. Can I tell you? So my son Jimmy, he met President Obama when he was running for the Senate.
Yeah.
And my mom was very involved politically, and so he went out for a little visit with my mom, and they were out in DeKalb at a meet and greet. And my son was all about getting autographs from people at the time. So he had his little autograph piece, his little piece of paper to get autographed. He got it autographed. He lost it. Okay, I'm just going to say, but that's not the story. The point of the story was he came back to my mom and showed him the autograph. She goes, "Now you put that in a safe place, because that is going to be the first black president of the United States of America. She knew.
Yeah.
She saw it in him. So that's speaking to the fire, and the excitement around somebody.
That's right now. We had, from a presidential standpoint, we had that with Vice President Harris.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we know that people, no one gets to use, they can use it as an excuse, but not a reason. Mm-hmm. And I looked at those are two different things. Some people are trying to say their reason for not voting or their reason for not voting for her was because of X, Y, and Z. Those are excuses. They're not reasons.
No.
Let me be perfectly clear. We've filtered out, and we're going to always have people that are going to say, yeah, but Richard, he didn't talk to this group. I mean, she didn't talk to this group. She didn't talk to that. No, those are excuses.
Yes.
Those are no longer reasons. Those are excuses. So the reason I'm tying this back to the excitement is the excitement was there. Mm-hmm. Clearly
sure
it was.
It was electric.
It was electric. So if we want to take and she's a young 60-year-old, chronological, she's 60.
She's at my age.
I know. Yeah. So she's a young 60. Mm-hmm. And whatever that means to many people, at the end of the day, there was a ton of excitement from lots of people. Mm-hmm. That has to be part of the newly designed Democratic leadership.
Right.
The Democratic Party at large, and specifically the leadership. And I'm saying this because I know so many people right now are frustrated with the wash, rinse, and repeat.
Yeah.
And I'm not. I have been a policy wonk in the past. Mm-hmm. At this point, I'm more. And I slipped into it yesterday with one of our guests in terms of policy. I'm more of a wonk about excitement and energy and what makes common sense. Eric and I talk about this a lot. What's the simplest thing to do right now? The simplest thing to do is where the Democratic Party is, frankly, missing the boat.
Right.
The simple thing is change leadership. Mm-hmm. That's going to immediately turn on a number of people.
Right. And then get the messaging right, too.
And get the messaging
around
right about why they're changing it. Yes.
Why you're changing it and why you're doing what you're doing. So, like with what is happening with the continuing resolution, you have to message it. You have to.
Don't you think they should have come out like saying, listen, here's what it's going to do. Here's why that's bad for the country.
Right.
And here's why we're opposing it.
That's right.
It's real simple.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
Right. This is why we're opposing it. And no, we don't want the government to shut down. But that is on the Republicans because they're putting all this garbage. They're putting all this garbage that they want us to sign on to. And, this will affect the department. This will be Veterans Affairs and Veterans Health Administration, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, National Institutes of Health, Global Health, Health and Education Programs, underserved populations. The EPA, hurts the middle class with, on education and on and on and on. And you go out there and you say, this is why we're not going to do it. And like you said, you do it, you sort it out behind closed doors, and you come out with a unified message, unified front.
That's it. And it doesn't have to be any more complicated than that.
Yep.
And so, again, I said this earlier, the vote specifically, whether one agrees that they should or should not have voted, what they should have done is come out with a singular message and not be bantering back and forth and have the public see. Because this is what's happened. The Republicans were able to effectively have a narrative that said that the Democrats are the ones that are going to be at fault.
Right.
There's no way in hell that Schumer should have let that happen.
Mm-mm.
And so I'm beyond the point of saying I'm down with Schumer, but no, I'm no longer down with Schumer. So I'll be one to say it without any apologies. I'm not down with Schumer anymore as a leader.
No.
On the Senate side.
I haven't for a long time. Honestly.
And I haven't either. I mean, I said that before. He needs to go. He needs to be replaced, and it needs to happen like tonight. Henry, let's take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. This is Choose Views. We'll be right back.
St. Patrick's Day begins March 10th at Max and Benny's restaurant in Northbrook. Don't wait until March 17th to get your North Shore's best corned beef and cabbage. Stop in beginning March 10th for lunch or dinner. Dine in or carry out. Meals come with red potatoes and carrots. Max and Benny's has catered meal packages to take out or eat in. You can go to maxandbennys.com to check out their special St. Patrick's Day menu. And don't forget, Max and Benny's special decorated cookies for St. Patrick's Day. Max and Benny's, open 7 days a week for great deli, soups, sandwiches, and dinners. Max and Benny's does catering with fish, deli, and delicious homemade dessert trays. Max and Benny's also has a special event space for over 100 people for catered events, parties, and special occasions. And Max and Benny's is your headquarters for all your Passover meals and Seders. Call Max and Benny's today to reserve your space for St. Patrick's Day. 847-272-9490. That's 847-272-9490.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey guys, welcome back to Choose Views. Your clips, your texts have been great. I haven't been able to respond to them because there's been so many, but thank you all for keeping us informed and letting me get a little bit wonky with Karen this morning. Let's go to Stella down in Texas. Good morning, Stella. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Richard. I listen all the time. I haven't called you in a while.
I know who you are, girl.
But I want to add my name to really Donna was spot on. So were you, and I got to tell you this. I've been done with Chuck Schumer since like 2018. Okay, I have been so frustrated with him because he's not strategic. To me, he is a reactive person. He just kind of just sits back and waits to see what the Republicans are going to do, and then he reacts to that.
Right.
And what bothers me about this situation with the continuing resolution is that even though the Republicans are at fault, they have strategically managed this in such a way that Democrats will be. The perception is it's gonna be our fault.
Yep. That's why I said, Stella, and I agree with the way you put that. That's why they should have come out. They knew what how this was gonna look. This is a lack of leadership from Schumer.
Yes.
Again, if they were going to vote for it or against it matters, but what really matters is why in the hell didn't they come out with a singular message? Here's the problem with this bill. Here's what it's going to do to you. And here's why we're standing against it. It's not complicated. And I'm not even going to say I'm sorry. No, Chuck, you got to go. There's no sorry behind it anymore. Yep. You got to get sorry behind out of there.
The other thing that I think that he should have been doing all along, too, is that these folks need to let their constituents. They should have kept their constituents informed during this whole process.
Yep.
You don't have to go back to your geographical location. I mean, they could use Zoom. I attend a lot of Zoom town hall meetings. Okay.
Yeah.
They should let us. Then that way they have the.
They actually get more people on. It would actually get more people involved. And this goes back to what Donna said.
You could do a Zoom poll.
Yeah, this goes back to what Donna said about utilizing technology in a more effective way.
Exactly.
So,
the other thing that I think that the old leadership should do, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you go ahead.
Is that when these new ones come in, they need to mentor them. They need to take them. They need to engage them. Involve them in the process as well. I was so disappointed in the House of Representatives at the beginning of the year when they were selecting committee chairs. AOC would have been a perfect to chair oversight. But what did they do? They got that 74-year-old guy whose name I don't even remember.
Jerry O'Connell.
And by the way, I'm 79 years old too. Okay.
Yep.
And I'm frustrated with them. I said, the Democrats need to take a page out of Bernie Sanders' book. Yes. Bernie Sanders is 83 years old. You don't hear young folks saying that he's too old.
Nope.
It's not age. It's just being able to grow with your position and not staying the same.
It's the energy that comes with the person as much as the age. So you could have a younger person in a position and they still carry the same old water and way of doing something. You can have a person that's chronologically older and they bring a different level of heat to the conversation. So, Stella, I appreciate your call this morning. As always, we're running tight, but thank you. It's good to hear your voice, and I'm glad you are doing well.
Thank you.
All right. Bye now.
You know, can I say really quick?
Sure.
One thing that Byrne has been consistent about is calling out the oligarchs.
Sure he has.
What better time to start messaging about oligarchs when you have an oligarch literally raiding our treasury and freezing our money, stealing our damn money.
Yeah, this would have been a perfect time. I mean, and again, I keep going back to this. They missed some opportunities here, and it's about leadership not having their act together to say this is what's wrong. This is what's wrong with this bill. Here's how it's going to impact you, and here's why we're standing against it. It's not a complicated message.
Right.
I'm a three-pronged guy when it comes to this stuff. And I think I've over the years practiced that way. But Colin Powell talked about it that way a lot when it comes to how we should approach battle. So let's talk about someone that's got a consistent message. Our governor right here in the great state of Illinois, Governor Pritzker, had something to say this week.
I think you're asking me if I'm running for re-election, and I have not made a decision or an announcement about that. As you know, I promise you will be among the very first to know. Along with, yeah, exactly. I didn't want to leave you out or you out. And I'll just say, look, whatever it is that I'm doing a year from now, or whatever announcements get made over the next bunch of months, I will be in this fight. I will be in this fight. I have always been, as you know, an active, participant in issues that matter to me. And the Trump presidency is attacking virtually everything that I believe in. So whether I'm in office or I'm not in office, what office I am serving in, I will always be in this fight.
If you're in the tea leaves, that's a little different of an answer than you've had in the past.
Then what?
It sounds like you might not be running for re-election.
I'm flattered to be considered that you would even mention that I'm, whether I'm running for re-election or that I'm running for some other office. But I think I've always said that I love the job. I still love the job. It's become harder, but frankly, taking on this challenge is meaningful. And so I'm in it now. I mean, whether I'm making an announcement about anything else is a different question, but I'm in this fight now, and I relish the idea that we collectively, and you heard it in this room, we can win. We can win. We just have to work together to get this message out across the country.
Last two sentences. We can win. We can win. But we have to do what? Work together to get this message out across the country.
Right.
That part right there is showing what it's speaking to what people want to see and hear. And the reporter's question, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's the collective message, and it's not showing itself right now. And he understands that as governor, which is why he's trying so hard to keep our message from this state a unified message that people throughout the country can actually buy into.
Well, and you get out there and you do your asks.
Yeah.
With whatever bills, whatever happens with this continuing resolution, this is one that's out there. No federal funding CR without DOJ guardrails.
Bringo. I know. Listen, guys, this is
simple.
This is that one of those days, one of those shows where I kind of knew coming in that I was going to be by requirement in my own mindset. A little critical of the Democratic leadership, specifically Schumer. So this is not necessarily the, jump on the hate Chuck Schumer bandwagon. However, at this point, based on what's gone down most immediately and over a period of time, it's time for him to go.
Right.
And it's not a question of him being primaried or any of that garbage. It's just there needs to be a new voice, and it needs to happen right now. Because here's a concern about this is not the only thing that's going to come to vote to the Senate, and that's why he can no longer be the face.
Does he not know that there are protests going on in all 50 states?
Yeah.
All 50 states. Okay. So if you're there to represent. Okay. And he is essentially, even though we have Durbin and Duckworth, he is somebody that we need to contact and tell this is what we want, because he is the leader of the Senate, in the Democratic caucus. So, yeah, we absolutely have got to call him 202-224-6542 and tell him, you work for us.
Yeah.
Read the room. There's protests all over this country around what the Republicans, what Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and all of his little tech
bros. I know.
Whatever
I had to fill that one in because there was a different word that was going to probably come out. Tech bros.
Yeah.
Dude bros.
Yeah, the teenagers.
Yeah.
Here's
what I have to say about, let's take them out of their little bubble and drop them off in the desert somewhere and see if they can figure their way back to safety. I doubt that they would have the, hell, you could drop them in the middle of a rural community and they wouldn't know how to get themselves back to someplace.
If we dropped the convicted felon 47 in the middle of the desert, he wouldn't know how to get back.
No, he wouldn't. He'd be trying to get an airlift from his boy Putin. Yeah, a little sarcasm that comes when Karen and I have the chance to speak. So let's take a break, guys. The number is 773-763. Keep us away from the arsenal. That's all I got to say. 773-763-9278. When we come back, we'll be talking with Congresswoman Nikki Budzinski. We'll be right back.
Excuse me, miss. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can you recommend a bank that offers a full suite of commercial banking products along with excellent service?
Yes, ABOC.
What about a bank that has been in Chicago for more than 100 years and really understands the local business climate?
ABOC.
But I manage a labor union. Can you recommend a bank that really understands how labor unions operate and what banking products they need?
Again, ABOC. ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922 and understands the local business climate better than anyone. ABOC was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders today. So they really understand how unions tick and how their needs may be different. But whether you're with a labor union or another type of business, whether you're large or small or something in between, ABOC will always make you feel like you're their most important customer. Visit ABOC.com to learn more.
Wow, thank you, random person on the street. I'm going to visit ABOC.com today.
Member FDIC.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A wind advisory will go into effect here late this afternoon. Then a high wind watch will go into effect here Saturday morning. We'll see mostly sunny skies here for today, a high around 80 degrees. Breezy southeast winds increased around 20 to 25 miles per hour, gusting as high as 40. Tonight, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, a low near 55. Saturday, skies become sunny, high of 66. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 51.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
It's Choose Views with Richard Chu on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
Hey, progressives, welcome back to Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Yeah, we're talking about leadership right now, and fortunately, we have some great leaders from the state of Illinois, and they make their way around Washington, and they do great stuff, and then they come back to the district or the state, and they let us know what they're doing. We are proud to have U.S. Representative Nikki Budzinski with us here this morning. Good morning, ma'am, and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning. Great to be with you this morning.
Absolutely. And I'll ask you the question because out of courtesy, I must ask, how are you doing? How are you holding up right now?
I can't think of a more important time for people to be in public service. So I am truly honored to get to represent the 13th District in Congress. But I would tell you, it is not an easy job. Every day, really, since January 20th, it has been just rapid fire assaults, whether it's on the federal workforce, whether it's the freezing of our federal funds that we fought so hard in the last administration to bring back home to our district, or fighting privatization. I've been leading with some of my colleagues, specifically on the United States Postal Service, trying to stop this administration from eliminating public services that people all across this country have been relying on for decades, generations. And so it's not easy, but it's so important that we're showing up and we're doing the best we can to fight back.
Right now, privatization, and thank you for that, privatization is you've thrown that on your shoulders in terms of the U.S. Postal Service. And said, no, not on my watch. Let's talk a little bit about that and what you're seeing and why you've taken this on so sternly.
Well, let me say, even in the last administration, I've been speaking out against Postmaster General DeJoy. I think he had the very wrong approach to the Postal Service. He was trying to consolidate our distribution centers, which for a district like mine, which is 3 hours south of Chicago, when you're talking about eliminating our Springfield and Champaign distribution centers, that means our mail has to route through Chicago and St. Louis, causing delays for my constituents, further delays. So I was fighting back on that. I was fighting back on some of the schedule changes he was making to make our mail less on time for delivery. But now what we're seeing is a whole other level of attack from the Trump administration, where the Board of Governors, which is an independent body that governs the USPS system, was actually moved to be dissolved, and then this administration moved this USPS system under the Department of Commerce. And what we know is that with that move, the next step is to seek out privatization and to approach and pursue privatization. We also saw DeJoy, who's still in office, agree to turn over the keys to this to DOJ. And so what that means is DOJ is going to be looking under the hood. And I will just say, finding efficiencies in government is not a bad thing. But the way that DOJ is approaching this is illegal. It's with a chainsaw rather than a scalpel. And so I'm very concerned for the United States Postal Service and what all this means.
This is what, and thank you for that. This is what a lot of people miss about the word efficiency. And I'll use a fitness example. When we all are working to stay as fit and healthy as possible. I think that's kind of a common thing that we all have. But if you take a sledgehammer or a chainsaw or whatever, not a scalpel, as you said, to that issue, you're going to hurt yourself. And that then becomes an inefficient way of living. Same thing applies here. And that's where I'm hoping we can change the narrative a little bit. And I know that you're one of those advocates. Let's change the narrative from this group being efficient, because slashing isn't always an efficient way to solve a problem in any venue. So I appreciate your stance there. This is not meant to put you on the spot, but I want to ask you this question. Do you think that with DeJoy, that President Biden could have or should have made a change with the governors, with the way in which that who's there? I mean, I'm trying not to say the nasty word, but do you think that was one of those opportunities that we could have taken advantage of while President Biden was in office?
Yes, I do. Okay. I think one of the things I would highlight as well is just in order to really replace DeJoy is actually accountable to the Board of Governors. Right. And there were so many vacancies at the Board of Governors. It made the Board of Governors basically ineffective because there weren't enough vacancies filled. So I think it would have been great for the administration to put forward more nominees to fill those slots, and then we could have addressed DeJoy.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, and a couple of times I spoke to it last year that I wish that the administration would have just gone ahead and dropped the hammer in that space. But how are your constituents in your district holding up? I mean, I know that's a big question, but because you're very in touch with the folks in your district. I know that from following you and reading so many things that you've done. But what's happening there? How are folks feeling?
A lot of people are really scared, I'm going to be honest. I mean, we have had at least one teletown hall. We had almost 10,000 people on it, and I would tell you we typically only maybe get around 2,000. Wow. A lot of people were dialing. I know, it's truly breathtaking. And I would say 5 times, and I would say at the end of the call, there were still 2,000 people on the line. And what that says to me is people are paying attention. What I heard from the questions that were asked are people are very concerned. They want to know rightfully, what am I doing to fight back? They want to know what they can be doing. And so I think it's really important right now that we're showing up in our communities and listening. I just say to you, another anecdotal evidence of this is I was going to show up in a small bar in Staunton, Illinois. It's a very small town in a red district of mine, or red county. And it was just going to be a small gathering of us as Democrats. It ended up being 125 people. It became an impromptu town hall, and I just think it speaks to the level of anxiety that is out there with voters. And we need to, and some of the things I've been trying to work on is what can we be doing to channel this energy to fight back? One of the things our neighbor, I know not far from you up in Wisconsin, there's a huge Supreme Court race that's going to be happening on April 1st. It's going to make a difference on a lot of really important issues. Trying to channel volunteers to help out in that race, encouraging constituents and voters to speak out, obviously, to not just our senators who are good partners, but, helping to organize in some of these more moderate Republican districts where we have to be holding these folks accountable to what these votes are and what these cuts are going to mean for our communities.
Well, listen, I'm so glad to hear you say something that I'm going to ask you anyhow. And I've been saying for a few weeks now, Representative, that you guys, us, all of us, I'm going to put us in the same boat rather than sound like I'm pointing fingers. But I'm hearing this more and more, that congressional leaders going into other districts or showing up. You showed up at a bar, a few folks, and then it turned out to be, 100 plus people there. That says exactly what you just said. We can go into other congressional districts or other states and have an impact, because these cuts and this carnage doesn't have a red or a blue political, label on it. And so I think, and I believe a lot of people would be behind what you just said and what Representative Ocasio-Cortez is saying. Maybe we should be tapping on the doors in other districts to let folks know we're here to support all of you. I mean, what's your take on that?
Mm-hmm. Well, let me just say, too, I think another important point, and something we've been really focused on, too, is telling the stories of impact, no matter where you are in the country, of what these cuts mean. I think that's important, especially not everybody can travel, not everybody can get out of their home areas, and we should try to get folks to focus on their local constituents. But I think what everybody can be doing is telling the story of what it will mean when they are dismantling the Department of Education, what it will mean for our special needs children, what it means for the VA. I serve on the House Veterans Affairs Committee, and the fact that they've fired 3,000, and then you saw when we were talking about mistakes they've been making with this chainsaw approach to quote unquote efficiency. The court ruled that they had to reinstate these folks that they've laid off in their probationary period at the VA. That is going to have a very negative impact on the way health care is administered to our veterans. We got to call that out. And we got to call that out on social media. We got to do that in the press. And we've got to show up. And I think we can be doing all of that. And there is something for everyone to be involved in speaking out.
Right now, the perception, and I know you hear this, is that the messaging from the Democratic Party is, let me just say this, make this statement before I sort of ask a question. Our ideas, our goals, our plans are flat out better. They were during the campaign, leading up to the election, during the election, post-election, and now. Our ideas, our stuff is better. We believe in the Nikki Budzinski representatives of the United States Congress. Our stuff's better. You. But unfortunately, there's this feeling, and I'm bringing this to you real, that we have so many people in our tent that our messaging gets split up and splintered off. You guys in the House nailed it when it came to the CR, right in line.
Right.
Yep. This is a critical comment. But last night or the past 24 hours, the perception by so many people is that the Senate didn't line up as strongly as you guys did. Can you chat about that a little bit without me sounding indicting with you about it? Because y'all lined up. Y'all got it done.
Yeah.
But your partners kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it was frustrating, and it is frustrating. And I will say the Democrats in the House, we came together almost unanimously, really, truly, virtually unanimously, to say no to turning the keys to the House over to this administration, who has shown us over these last 5 weeks what they intend to do with that kind of unchecked authority. That's what this long-term CR is really all about. It's creating slush funds, unaccountable to the legislature, unaccountable to constituents, for folks like Elon Musk to reprioritize the funding of our federal government. I think as Democrats, we could get behind a short-term continuing resolution to keep the government open because nobody wants a shutdown. But that would require Republicans to come back to the table. It is Republicans that left the negotiating table on a budget, which we, by the way, have not ever reached in this last over year. We are way deep into the fiscal 2025 year. But because of failed Republican leadership from last Congress to this, we've never been able to reach a real budget. We should not, as a federal government, be continuing to govern under the rules of what they refer to as a continuing resolution, which I say that, and I think most listeners probably, what the heck is a continuing resolution? It's just a stopgap measure that literally keeps the lights on. We should be doing better for our constituents than that.
Yeah, and that's the frustration is what is a continuing resolution? What does it really mean? What is it really going to actually do? Right. And unfortunately, a lot of folks don't know, and then they unplug because they don't know. I'm gonna ask you a question, but I'm gonna throw a suggestion out to you because you kind of touched on this yourself. One of the things that I think so many Americans want to hear, Representative Budzinski, and I promise you, this is something that I'm hearing on the ground, is that Democratic leaders, Democratic elected officials really need to make sure that the message is plain. You've heard the phrase, make it plain. And I'm emotional about this because I care. People are begging Representative Budzinski for a simple message. Here's what's wrong. Here's what we're going to do about it. And here's why that's going to benefit you. Or here's what's right. Here's why we did it. And here's why it's going to benefit you. Something that folks can go, I can get on board with that. Because I believe, and the people that I talk to say, to get those 69 million folks that didn't vote off the couch, that's what folks want to hear. And I'm just putting that out there. You didn't ask my opinion. I'm just unsolicited.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you.
And I'd like to hear your thoughts about that.
Yeah, I think we should be talking to voters about the fact that it is Democrats that are fighting to make your life better, that are helping you, working people that are struggling, not paying attention to politics anymore because they think it's all so broken. They just want to know how you're going to make their life better. How are you going to lower the costs of groceries, of gas, of child care, of long-term care? How are you going to make sure that we're fighting for workers to have a right to have a voice in their workplace? How are we are the party that is protecting the working people, the retirees in this country. It is not the other side who is standing with the MAGA billionaires in this country, trying to get them a lower tax rate, lower the corporate tax rate. That's who they are. We are for fighting to improve your everyday life, and we have plans that are going to do that. And I think that once we can make that connection, and I'll be honest with you, I think that some of us, we have to reconnect with these voters. We've lost a little bit of touch with this. And I think we need to focus on the everyday costs that people are facing. It's truly what I believe Trump sold as a snake oil salesman to voters that he was going to tackle on day one. And you and I both know that that's the last thing he's been doing. He hasn't done a damn thing to address rising costs. If anything, you see costs going up. You see a stock market that is, to say the word volatile doesn't accurately describe what is happening to the stock market right now. He's not fighting for you. And so I think that it's just incumbent on the Democrats to stay laser focused on how we're going to improve the lives of people. Everybody wants, to get to the middle class. They want a better life for their kids, and they're going to vote for people that they think are going to deliver on that.
Saying the words, he hasn't done a damn thing, lots of people would love to hear that come out of the mouths of Democrats. all at one time. so don't be afraid. We got you to use a little bit of that salty language to say he and collectively, all 215 of you guys in the House, standing on the steps of the Capitol, and collectively saying he hasn't done a damn thing for America. You don't know, Representative Budzinski. I'm telling you this from the heart. You don't know the impact that would have if collectively all of you guys stood on the Capitol steps and said that to America, and behind that said, here's what we're going to do. The country wants, they're begging for it right now. Sorry, I get choked up. They're begging for it right now. They really, we really are. And so I'll give you I'll give you that as a tool to take back and say, listen, this is what they're asking for. I can assure you that people are going to go, that's what we've been wanting to hear. So, as we wrap up.
Message received.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry about that. I'm a passionate believer in this.
No, it is emotional. It is emotional. And what's happening to our country right now is heartbreaking, and we've got to fight for it.
Yeah, absolutely. What's your next 30, 60 days looking like? What's on your agenda? What's on that whiteboard that you say we got to get these things done?
Yeah, well, we're going to be at home, actually, this next week. So I'm really looking forward to, I have a meeting set up. I have an agricultural advisory committee. I have to say I represent a lot of farm country in Illinois. Agriculture is critical to our state's economy, and these farmers are feeling it. I feel very passionately about the fact that as Democrats, we should be having a new conversation in rural communities and not yield the field to the Republicans anymore on these issues, because whether it's, cuts to Medicaid that are going to devastate my rural hospitals, or the cuts to the USDA and the loan programs that my farmers have been waiting for their checks on, or the tariffs that are being imposed. So I'm going to have a meeting, I just went off on a tangent there, but I'm going to have a meeting with my farmers in the district because I want to hear from them. That's something that's going to be really important. We're going to be doing meetings throughout the district as well on the VA in particular, on the cuts that we are seeing, checking in on some of our communities that are still waiting for federal checks that haven't arrived, that should be arriving and have been illegally frozen by this administration. So I'm looking forward to being home and being with my constituents and just hearing on the ground, what is happening and how I can help.
Well, we know you got to wrap up and you had a busy day, and we appreciate you being with us. I look forward to having you back because I know you get it, and I'm honored to have you with us this morning. And please let your colleagues know that we got your backs. We're here for you to support you. We don't want you to have to turn around and say, does a constituency across America, are they behind us? We got you. We just need you to be that tip of the spear every single day, because folks are energized, and they'll be further energized if they see that kind of messaging and energy coming from our House of Representatives.
Yes, and we are in this together. I think that's just an important point to make. We are all in this together.
Thank you for being with us. I'm going to let you go. Thank you for being with us, Representative Budzinski. We really appreciate you taking out the time this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, have a great day and travel safely, okay?
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye. Okay, guys, there it is. I've been saying for weeks now that if I had a chance to talk to a member of the House of Representatives, I'm going to tell them this is what Americans want to hear. Mm-hmm. So I hope I kept my word to you guys that if I had a chance, I would say it. I said it emotionally because that's what I believe in. Folks across this country want to see our leaders in unison, working together, fighting together, and telling folks this is what's wrong with the Republican Party, this is what we're going to do about it, and here's how it's going to benefit you. It's that simple. Right. Karen, give me a break so I can drink some coffee.
No, and I really appreciate too your passion and getting emotional with this, because we're all feeling it. It has been really hard out in these streets, and it's like people are upset, and this is a moment that Democrats can make or break this whole situation. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how we need to say it to them. What you just said, please, we implore you guys, we have your backs. That is the thing that they need to understand.
I sometimes wonder, Karen, if they think we have their backs. And that's why I've been saying for weeks, we need to let you know we got your back. Right. Go do the work. Don't worry about turning around. We got you. Right. We are right here for you. Just go nail them.
Right. Because this is the thing. But this is the thing. All you have to do, it's so simple with this one, too. What they want to do is like she said, they want to allow Donald Trump and Elon Musk to treat our treasury, our tax dollars as a slush fund. That's what it is.
To do what? Not to help Americans.
I mean, and it's like they don't understand that the protests in 50 states have anything to do with the fact that Elon Musk is in our stuff and taking our money.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's that simple.
It's that simple.
The stuff in this bill would allow them unchecked without having any kind of oversight or say by the Congress. We are a co-equal branch of government. The Congress is a co-equal branch, and what they're saying is we're just going to go ahead and hand it right on over to Elon Musk and Donald Trump, who have already shown you what they're going to do.
This deliberative body, a.k.a. the Senate. I asked her because I knew I was going to ask her this question this morning. Your partners didn't kind of hold the line like you did, and she, without being disrespectful, she agrees, not that she needs to agree with me, but agrees with what happened, that didn't happen, that they didn't in the Senate hold the line. So it's got to be frustrating for her. I mean, she said virtually, and what she was saying, to clarify that, there was only one Democrat in the House that did not vote in line with the other Democrats, but there was one Republican. So the numbers balanced out. But the point is, there was one, not another number, and certainly not the leader. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so they've got to be throwing ketchup against the wall, or mustard, or barbecue sauce, or salad dressing or something in the House of Representatives, going, come on, y'all.
Yeah, no, they've got to get in line. They have to understand the moment and how upset everybody is out here.
Guys, it has been, as always, a great Friday. We've had our great guest on, our good friend Karen Byrne here with us in studio, and Representative Nikki Budzinski. I didn't get a chance to ask her to how people can find and follow her, but just Google her. She's one of our House of Representatives, members of the House of Representatives. Follow her, find her. It's the weekend, y'all, so please, please, please do get out and enjoy yourselves and have some fun. St. Patrick's Day weekend here in Chicago. Take a deep breath. Make your life count. We'll see you next week.
Putting off that much-needed dental work, you know, that back molar that zings whenever you drink something cold, or that old loose crown that migrates up and down like a yo-yo every time you eat. This is Dr. Anna Pellick from Total Dentistry and Palatine, and procrastination keeps me very busy. A simple filling becomes a root canal, or that chipped tooth breaks again and now it becomes a bridge or an implant. Time is the enemy, and dental problems don't get better on their own. So if you procrastinate because of anxiety, we have solutions. If you procrastinate